Hydraulic Fracturing, the Well Factor, Local or State Control by Kendallin R. Thomas from Colorado Christian University. Inherent home rule began in the 19th century and early 20th century. Osborne M. Reynolds states that if a city created its own charter, the city has an inherent right to govern the affairs within its city limits, where purely local matters are concerned. A few states, such as Michigan, Indiana, Iowa, Texas, Nebraska, Oklahoma, California, North Carolina, Kentucky, and Montana, now have constitutional provisions or broad statutes allowing cities wide home rule powers. The 1970 revision of the California Constitution distinguished that if a city has obtained a home rule charter, they have inherent right to everything in their municipality. Some authority goes even further and holds that a city with a home rule charter is completely free of state control and may do anything not forbidden by its charter, according to Wiley versus City of Berkeley. Home rule was completely rejected by most of the states. Inherent home rule is now a creature of judicial interpretation of statutes and constitutions, says Reynolds. Limitations on state control of municipalities are at best extremely few in number and are such as to be of little use. He goes on to say that municipalities in the United States are subject to the complete control of the states in which they are located, except as such control is limited by constitutional provisions, according to Barnes versus District of Columbia in 1876. Several other cases say that the state may take away the powers of municipalities, they may transfer their functions to other governmental units, and may turn their property over to other governmental entities without making compensation, according to Jefferson County versus City of Anchorage, 1995, Cobo versus O'Brien in 1959, and Higginson versus Treasurer in 1912. So where are the boundaries in state versus local sovereignty? It began as a mirror to the dual state and local sovereignty along the national plan of federal and state governments. That was for City of St. Louis versus Western Union Telegraph Company. Reynolds says that such local sovereignty has never developed, nor have any clear-cut distinctions between state and local power been made. Most arrangements rest on vague constitutional or statutory language granting powers of local self-government to qualifying municipalities, so that municipal laws prevail over state laws as to matters of purely municipal concern, but not as to matters of statewide concern. Therefore, the home rule problem becomes the determination of what are local matters and what are state matters. Again, what are the boundaries between state and municipal rule? Well, Reynolds goes on, saying that state legislative acts must yield to local laws when those acts deal with basically local concerns and are in conflict with laws of the municipality. Because home rule cities are subject to general state laws in cases of conflict between state and city law, the state law prevails. That was the City of Thornton versus Farmers Reservoir and Irrigation Company. Reynolds says that if the matters are of governmental nature, they are likely to be classed as of statewide general concern. If they are proprietary or businesslike in nature, such as in the operation of a utility, they are likely to be considered of basically local concern. That's Tucson versus Tucson Sunshine Climate Club, 1945. In House Bill 40, or the Denton Fracking Bill, Senator Troy Fraser described the measure as an effort to avoid double regulation of the state's most profitable industry. It would clarify that the state is the ultimate authority when setting policies related to oil and gas exploration. Under that version of HB 40, cities would still exercise limited regulatory authority on above-ground oil and gas exploration activities, including things like fire and emergency response, noise and light pollution, or traffic concerns. So how do the courts decide what is of statewide concern or of municipal concern? Well, Reynolds says there are 4 generalizations. The first is if uniform regulation throughout the state appears necessary or desirable, as with traffic regulations and utility rate regulation, the matter is likely to be classified as of statewide concern. The second generalization, he says, is that they look at the roles that have historically been played and the services traditionally furnished by the state and local governments. Thirdly, they look at the effect of the particular matter on those outside the municipality. And fourthly, they decide how much cooperation between locality and state or among governmental units within the state is needed, and usually side with the state. In Dillon's Rule versus the Cooley Doctrine, Cities 101 Delegation of Power in 2016 says that Dillon's Rule is derived from the 2 court decisions issued by Judge John F. Dillon of Iowa in 1868. It affirms the previously held narrow interpretation of a local government's authority, in which a sub-state government may engage in an activity only if it is specifically sanctioned by the state government. After that, in 1871, Dillon's Rule was challenged by Judge Thomas Cooley of the Michigan Supreme Court, with the ruling that municipalities possess some inherent rights of local self-government. USLegal.com states that the Cooley Doctrine is the principle that Congress has exclusive power under the Commerce Clause to regulate national commercial matters, and that the states share this power in the absence of federal preemption with respect to local matters. That's in Cooley versus the Board of Wardens in 1852. Several cases against companies were taken to court for hydraulic fracking processes. One such case is Skoma versus Chesapeake Energy Corporation. It said that the plaintiffs described the effects of the contamination as an intermittent orange-yellow coloring of the water, bad taste, and foul odor. The plaintiffs tested their wells in 2008 and 2009 and alleged that the results show an increase in the concentration of harmful petroleum byproducts such as benzene, a well-known cancer-causing agent, toluene, ethylbenzene, xylene, barium, and iron. Again, in Mitchell versus Encana Oil and Gas Incorporated, the complaint alleges that Mitchell's well water began to feel slick to the touch and give off an oily, gasoline-like odor in May of 2010. The complaint states that testing results indicated that the well water contained various chemicals, including C12, C28, hydrocarbons, similar to diesel fuel. So is hydraulic fracturing considered to be a state or local matter? Okay, well, this is an indefinite jurisdiction. There are no definite laws. There is no definite jurisdiction. There are conflicting or non-rulings on cases directly related to fracking, and history does not rule in favor of one over the other. What is my best course of action? I believe that the cases indicate a problem directly affecting residents of a city living outside city limits using necessary wells for sources of water. Since the affected parties are residents of the city, municipal powers should supersede state rule. In Galatians 5:14, it says that the entire law is summed up in a single command: love your neighbor as yourself. In Matthew 7:12, it says, so in everything do to others what you would have them do to you, for this sums up the law and the prophets. So what should the legislators do? I believe that they should do what they would want somebody to do to them. If they want to drink poisoned water, then they should rule in that way. If they do not want to drink poisoned water, they need to rule on the side of the people.